I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
What I mean, Militia, I mean Joe Grizzly. And when I'm not trying to make it until dawn while random monsters try to kill me in horrific ways, I'm at the Grizzly Cave, watching movies, reading comics, listening to metal, and of course, crushing beers. And I am back at the Grizzly Cave to bring y'all my review of the latest video game adaptation and horror movie release, Until Dawn. And since this has been announced, it has garnered a lot of disdain from fans of the video game and some optimism from horror fans. So the question is, did it subvert all that disdain and actually continue the trend of really good video game adaptations that we have been getting lately? And did it also satisfy the horror fan base? Let's find out. This is Grizzly Grade Reviews. 1 year after her sister's disappearance, Clover and her friends traced the steps of her whereabouts to a remote valley. While exploring the visitor center, they are killed off one by a masked killer, only to be resurrected and cursed to relive the night over and over again until they survive until dawn. So, first and foremost, I want to be completely upfront and say that I have never played this game. I've seen video on it, I've read about it, I've heard people talk about it, so I'm not unfamiliar with the story or the gameplay aspect, because it's one of those games I've played pretty much its sister sequel, The Quarry, but it's pretty much a choose your own adventure game. Your decisions determine where you are going in the game, whether you survive or whether certain people survive or whatnot. And I never played this one, and that's unfortunate. I'm going to have to fix that in the future. But I don't have any bias or any expectations when I walked into this movie. I went in just wanting to see a decent horror film. And unfortunately, I was disappointed. So let's talk about it. Starting out with the positives, I think that the ideas and the premise that David F. Sandberg was going for here was pretty cool. I like that he wanted to pay homage to all of his favorite horror genres, like slashers and supernatural and whatnot. And I thought that the way that he was trying to deliver that was cool. I thought that him using the hourglass time loop plot device to deliver this to the audience was a pretty good idea. And every time that the group gets killed off and they get revived, they are attacked by something different. They're attacked by a monster or a slasher or a witch or something on those lines. It's something different every time. And every time they revive, they go do it all over again. It was kind of giving us like this broad montage of horror genres. And it was good to see David F. Sandberg's love for horror being put on full display in this movie. It's good to see a horror fan actually get to like show us what his favorites are, show us his love for horror. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that the creature effects and the designs of the monsters or threats that was consistently attacking them every time that they were revived was pretty cool as well. I thought that they all were pretty much like typical of what they were, but they were just unique enough to be pretty cool and effective. And I also like the fact that most of them were practical, and the ones that weren't practical looked really good. I can say that I wasn't disappointed in any of the digital effects that were used, even though it doesn't seem like a lot of digital effects was used in this. So anytime they're going to use practical effects, that's always going to get a plus from me. It's always going to bring the score up more. And lastly, the biggest highlight for me is the kills. And man, when I tell you that I was not ready for the kills in this movie, I was completely caught off guard by it. I did not expect anything like what we were given. I thought that this was going to be more on the lines of a PG-13 Conjuring type movie where the cast was never really in danger. They were never truly going to die in horrific ways or anything like that, and I was 100% wrong. It does mirror the Conjuring universe in its style, as in it's definitely a gateway horror film, but for it being a gateway horror film, it introduces those gateway fans to a lot of blood and gore. And I mean, it has anywhere from the absolute gruesome, like a Saw type, or even maybe a little bit of Terrifier type gore, to the cartoonish and ridiculous stuff, like people just exploding and stuff like that. It was definitely the best part of the movie, and definitely got a reaction out of me and the audience. Like, there was some times where it was like, holy fuck, I can't believe that happened. Like, it just wasn't something I was expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought it was the best part of the movie by far. I don't really have any mixed parts other than I think that the time loop plot device I'm kind of mixed on, because I am kind of tired of seeing it being used a lot lately in a lot of different horror movies, but at the same time, I think that it was done very well. It wasn't something that was over extravagant or anything. It was, if you survive till dawn, you live. And every time the hourglass would rotate back over and tip. And I thought that was pretty cool. But when I tell you that is now becoming like a commonly used trope, and it's just kind of wearing its welcome out a little bit for me. But now, moving on to the negatives, this is something that plagues a lot of modern day horror films, especially ones that are geared more towards like gateway horror fans or casual horror fans, and that the cast is absolutely horrendous. They are the most perfect definition of paint by numbers and just cannon fodder. Besides, Peter Stormare is there, and he plays a big part in the movie, but he's kind of in the background the whole time. From what I understand, those who play the game will know exactly who he is right from the get-go. And a lot of that is lost on me. But he was the one that I thought that he always does a good job. He's always on point in what he does. But the rest, like some really, really bad acting. But I think a lot of that was attributed to really bad writing and dialogue as well. And I know that this movie was kind of a love letter to horror, but these characters were poorly written and stereotypical, and I think they may have been intentionally done that, but it didn't work what they were going for. Like, it ended up backfiring on them big time. And there is this character, he's probably the most memorable character because he's so pathetic, and that's just the nicest way I can put that, is there's this guy who likes this girl, he likes the lead girl, and he is the definition of a tryhard. He is trying to woo this girl over this entire time, and because they used to date and he lost her or whatnot, and this entire time, it don't matter how insane or dumb her idea is, he's like, yeah, we should totally do what she does. Like, he's the definition of what the kids today on the internet call a simp. He's like the definition, and it's just I just don't like characters like that. He's just super pathetic. It's not like him being sweet or anything like that, or him just being nice to the girl. He's literally like, he will follow her into hell just so he could get back with her, and it's sad. So I don't really like weak characters like that. Now, if they started him out weak and he became a strong character, that would have been different, but he was definitely the most memorable character, and not for the right reasons. Then you got the lead, her name's Clover, and she is the driving force behind these characters. She's the reason why the characters are here, because her sister went missing X amount of months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, and she has essentially dragged her friends along to try to find her sister. So she's the reason why they're all getting killed. So that's kind of a funny little point there, but she is just wooden as hell, and her motivations and stuff are honorable, but it comes to a point in the movie where it's like she just throws those motivations out the window, and it's just like, yeah, none of that matters to me anymore. And it's like, well, what's the point of this? What was the point in doing this anyway if you were just going to give up that easily? So she was just poorly written as well, and did not give the best performance for a lead or a final girl. And then there's this character who is a psychic, and that character, like, she sees visions, or she has had precognition, but she's like, this is the wrong way because I'm having visions or whatever. That character is just stupid. She's just there to be somewhat of an exposition machine, but she doesn't do a good job at it because she's poorly written. That character was just dumb the whole time. And then you got the rest of the cast, and they're just a bunch of assholes. So it's like that none of them are likable, and when you don't have likable characters, it's hard to get invested in them surviving or wanting them to live or whatnot. So you end up just waiting for them to die and wanting them to die in the movie. And I don't know if that was intentional. It could be because of how this movie is laid out and how it has the time loop thing, that it makes it more like digestible. But for me, it wasn't. It just made me dislike the characters, and I don't really like it when I don't like any of the characters in the movie. As I said before, I like the ideas and the premise of what David F. Sandberg's doing in this, but the problem that I have is it doesn't work. It completely doesn't work, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember any kind of an explanation for any of this happening and how it was happening. I didn't hear about magic. I didn't hear about like some kind of a scientific thing. I didn't hear any kind of explanation. If it was there, I 100% missed it, and I will own that. But there is at the beginning of the movie, they have this rotating threat every time they die. And then towards the second half, they start solely focusing on Wendigos. Now, it could be that they were just stuck on that day and they hadn't died yet, so that was the threat. But it kind of trips itself up because other threats come in during that day. So it's like there is no rules established other than you die, it starts over. And allegedly nobody's made it past 13 days. So it's one of those things that the rules aren't clearly defined. We're given no explanation, and it just feels like a jumbled mess. We don't know. We get introduced to a villain towards the end of the movie, but we don't get an explanation on how the fuck he is doing any of this. We know that he, quote, studies things, but we don't know how he is catching people in a time loop, and we don't understand why, if you do make it until dawn, you can get out of this time loop. None of it really makes any sense, and if there was an explanation, I completely missed it. And from what I understand from my people who are fans of the game and stuff I've read online, that the central threat in the game is Wendigos. And it feels like at one point this movie solely focused on it, and then they went back and they added this time loop rotating monster deal that they had going on for majority of this first half of the movie. So it almost feels like studio meddling, and I could be wrong. Maybe this was the intention the entire time, but it definitely feels like at one point this movie was focused on Wendigos. And I want to take a little time here to say I love that creature. I always have been fascinated by the creature of the Wendigo, and most movies I have seen with Wendigos aren't very good. There's like one in particular, it's called Antlers. That one's really good, but overall the Wendigo is very misrepresented in the monster movie genre. So they had an opportunity to make them really cool, and they're not bad. It's just a movie that their end's bad, and it doesn't make no sense for them to be there if that's not the central thing. Like, if they were just part of the little rotation, that's one thing, but they really focus on it towards the end, and it just fell off, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I know that the hourglass time loop thing is there. At least they have said that they used that they were intending to use it to kind of mimic the gameplay where you die, you start over, you die, you start over. And I get that, but it didn't really work for me. It didn't make it feel like that, because the game itself at least if it's just like the game, the Quarry that I've played, the game itself is like an interactive movie. It just, you choose your own adventure, you choose your own path. So it just didn't really make sense to put that time loop thing in there to mimic that when the game itself is just a movie. Sure, if you die, you start over, but we come to these movies to have the story that the games are giving, to have stuff from the game, not necessarily the gameplay, because mimicking gameplay in a movie that you can't fucking play doesn't make any sense. And it definitely doesn't work when you're just adding all these extra monsters and shit in there without any explanation whatsoever. So it just didn't work for me, and they probably could have pulled it off if they would have had a focus on some kind of explanation. And probably my biggest issue with the movie, and this is going to come off a little bit hypocritical because I'm kind of a judge of this as well. I kind of judge people harshly for this, and I'm going to come off as a hypocrite now, but it's not my intention. But I have not played this game. I've said that before. But I have read enough and watched enough YouTube videos on like cutscenes in the game and stuff to have a gist of what this game is about. And I do not understand why these studios go away from the source material. Especially now. Especially now when there's been some good video game adaptations. We've gotten 3 great Sonic movies that have not been like a shot for shot adaptation of the game, but they've respected the source material. They adapted it to make it more digestible in movie form. Mario did the same thing. So you have Mario and you have the 3 Sonic movies, and then you got probably the best example, The Last of Us. Those are highly successful video game adaptations, and all of them have one common thing, and that's they follow the source material. They respect the source material. So it's just like, I got the same gripes with the MCU when they make this big, huge, unnecessary or bonehead change to the source material and adapt it for the big screen when it's completely unnecessary, and it absolutely works if they just did it like it was in the books. So that's a thing that is plaguing all adaptations of all different forms of media. It's just the thing that's very, very frustrating is that I don't understand why these studios just don't get it. I don't know why they feel the need to say, no, we're not going to go for this that works for everybody. We're going to go this way, and we're going to do the thing that nobody fucking wants. It doesn't make any sense, guys. And if any of them studios are somehow watching this, which I fucking doubt it because hardly anybody is watching this video, but seriously, are y'all stupid? Like, do y'all not want to make money? Do you not want to make a movie for, I don't know, $120 million and then gross like $500 million off of it because you did the right thing by the fans and made a good adaptation? Because if you do it by the source material, everyone's going to like it. It's not going to alienate anyone because you're getting a better story. You're getting a story that people already fucking like. And people that haven't played it will like it. But y'all don't do that. And I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just like Mortal Kombat, the latest Mortal Kombat adaptation. You had some great things in that movie, but you didn't have the fucking tournament. You didn't have the essence of Mortal Kombat. It's got a little bit of it, but you just made a bunch of fight scenes in caves and shit. You didn't have an actual tournament and the backdrop of how cool the story is in the games. You have fucking like 12 games now. 12. You have 12 games that you could go to for all the source material that you fucking need. and you say, nah, we're just going to take the bare bones and we're going to do this, do that with it, and it's just going to be what it is, and we don't give a damn if nobody likes it. Oh yeah, we're going to throw in this this character who's pretty much a created character, name him Cole, and make him the worst character ever fucking made, but make you like him. No one liked him. No one liked him. And I'm hoping that's going to get corrected in the second Mortal Kombat movie coming out, but I have no hope for that. But I digress. Studios, what the fuck are you doing? Why can't you just adapt these games the way they need to be? Zach Krieger, I'm talking to you, buddy. Adapt Resident Evil the way it's supposed to be adapted from the games. If you do that, you're going to have a hit on your hands like Sonic, Mario, and The Last of Us. So, I said in my little rant there, but that is my biggest gripe with this movie. If it ain't broke, don't fucking fix it. And all they had to do was follow the source material. And they didn't. And they kind of try to bookend the end of the movie with the game as well. And because I didn't play the game, it didn't work for me. But for some people in the theater I was in, was like, ooh, that's from the game, blah, blah. But you need more than just, ooh, it's from the game. You need to respect it. And that was my biggest problem with this movie. So I think if you're a very casual moviegoer, particularly a casual horror fan, and if you're a person that's trying to get into horror, I think that this might be something for you. You might like it. But for me, as a horror fan and being such a stickler for people respecting the source material of different medias, it just didn't do anything for me. It wasn't a horrible movie. It wasn't unwatchable. It was entertaining. I'm not going to say it wasn't entertaining, because it was entertaining. But for me, I seen something that could have been great. And I seen something that had some surprises for me that I did not expect, that I really enjoyed about it, particularly the kills. But overall, it was just a fucking mess. And I can accept some things being hand wavy and never explained, but when nothing at all is explained, it's just there, and you have so much complicated stuff going on, you got to have an explanation, and it just made the movie a mess for me. So with all that being said, Until Dawn gets a 2.75 out of 5. Go see it for yourself if you want to. If you're a pretty adept horror fan like I am, and a fan of the video game, I would wait to stream it. I wouldn't spend money to go see it, but that's just me. Maybe you'll like it. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for your continued support and patience on me getting these videos out. Without y'all, this channel isn't possible. If you like this video, like it. And if you like it enough, please head over to the channel, subscribe today, and make sure you hit the bell button so you never miss an episode. Also, please follow me on all social media platforms so you can get channel updates, movie news, and all forms of badassery. We got a lot of stuff coming up here shortly. It's going to be a big month for the next pretty much 3 months for movie reviews. There's a lot of stuff getting released, but I have something I'm going to about the second weekend in May. I'm going to the Crimson Scream Film Festival here in Columbia, South Carolina. So if anybody here is living in South Carolina and wants to go to a cool film festival that's horror centered, come down to Columbia, because I just now found out about this. It's been going on for the last 12 years, and I had no idea that this thing existed. So to say I'm excited is an understatement. And I'm going to be probably putting out some videos on my experience with that too, so stay tuned for that. Coming up next is the Thunderbolts. I believe that's the first movie in May. A lot of the early screenings are very positive, so I'm hoping just to go in and see a decent entry into the MCU and not just this complete and utter flop that we've been getting lately. Daredevil Born Again was good. That was a good shot in the arm that the MCU needed. So let's see if they continue that with the Thunderbolts. But stay tuned for that. And until next time, remember, I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.